Yo, we actually get Holy Knight Shanks in this chapter, along with the crazy details of his own backstory, more Roger, more legendary pirates, more Harold and Loki craziness, so make sure to stay tuned for this epic chapter. Channel Pirate King Within, and smash that like button if you enjoy watching One Piece reviews on the channel like this one and want to keep them coming. Make this the video you subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already so you don't miss future One Piece reviews and updates. And now, without further ado, let's jump into it, spoilers and all. So last chapter finished off with Harold being crazy Harold again and ripping off his own horns to show that he wants peace, as if the world government doesn't know that already. As if this symbolic castration wasn't enough, he also said he'd even be their slave to atone for the giant sins of the past, and so that the children of Elbaf can live fruitful lives without hurting anyone, so they can live hand in hand with humanity. I don't like his approach, and I don't like the fact that he even trusts the world government to keep their promise. But hey, that's his character arc. We can just be grateful that it's a flashback so that the present day characters can hopefully learn from the past and not repeat the same mistakes, the same irritating mistakes. This chapter is called The Son of Ida, and man oh man, does this title go hard when we come to that section of the chapter, as we will see. So we catch up with Harold, who pretty much did become a slave to the world government as he asked to, so no surprise there. He was tasked by them to help the Marines in secret to defeat pirates as part of Harold's vow to atone for Giant's 1,000 years worth of sins. We even see a panel that would be epic in other contexts, but not so much here because Harold is being a lapdog of the world government, where he cuts a pirate ship in two in the middle of the sea. It looks like Harold is also Oda's way of critiquing the idea of atoning for sins you didn't even commit. Sure, let Harold atone for his own sins, I guess, but he's not even doing that right. But having to single-handedly atone for the sins of the entire giant race is crazy, especially since his atonement is just listening to the corrupt world government. I would have loved to see an alternate timeline where Oda explored what if Harold actually joined Zebek. Even if they still fell, Harold would have fallen in much more epic fashion for sure. Back to the chapter, and the narrator explains that there was a rumor spreading among the countries on the Grand Line that on the seas with heavy mist lived a monster that mainly targets pirates. But the narrator also says that Harold is not the Florian Triangle monster because he attacks ships in other regions too. But it's interesting to get a throwback to the Florian Triangle monster here. One trivia fact about the Florian Triangle is that it can also be read as the Devil's Triangle in Japanese, and you gotta admit that when that time we saw a Florian Triangle monster, it definitely looked like the devil of the series Emu, from the black, tall, and thin shape to the red eyes. Wonder if we'll learn more about this down the line, or if it'll just be left in the air for us to put the pieces together ourselves. Again, Oda doesn't spend a lot of time on the Florian Triangle monster though. He lets us know that after the God Valley incident, some pirates that participated in that event conquered the seas. Of course, like Roger, Newgate, Linlin, and Kaido. Nothing shocking there, but always cool to catch up with these legends, especially Roger. Then we fast forward and are told that after Roger's death, Harold was promoted by the Five Elders to a devoted Blade of God, aka a confidant of the God's Knights. He was marked with a tattoo on his left arm. So pretty much, once you get to be a Blade of God, you can be upgraded to a God's Knight, and then you can be upgraded to a Gorosei, and then they all serve Emu. And after being branded, Harold comments, "What an honor." Come on, bro. The Five Elders then let us know that there are 3 stages to the contract, which reminds one of the idea of making a deal with the devil for sure. There is the surface sea contract, which is but a faint tie. That seems to be what he's getting here, and also what I'd assume Shanks had as well, but we'll get more into that later. There are also the deep sea contract and the sea floor contract, which are said to be the real vows exchanged between the 13 chosen and God. So that makes these later contracts a bit more interesting because they are limited. Immediately, it makes each one of the 13 seem more interesting, and one can assume that the Gorosei and God's Knights are within the chosen 13. Harold then asks God, since he does know about Emu. Just another way that Harold is very naive and ignorant to a lot of what's actually happening. If only Rocks tried harder to fill him in on the truth, of the world, and specifically the world government. Maybe, and it's still a maybe of course, Harold would have made better decisions. Nustura says to Harold, again waving that carrot before his giant face, if a day should come where you are to be granted the title of God's Knight, ... Harold asks eagerly, will Elbaf be welcomed into the circle of the world government as well at that point? And then the 5 elders say indeed. So Harold has been following the world government, now he gets promoted to Blade of God and gets the tattoo, and there's the hope once he gets another promotion eventually that then Elbaf can join the other nations too. Obviously though, something happens in between where Harold dies. It'll be interesting to see how that all ends up going down between Harold and Loki during his final hours. Maybe Harold finally has a moment where he realizes how crazy he's been all this time. I hope so. The question then is, if he decides to turn against Emu, can that tattoo be used to control him? Or even without that, there's always a Domi Reversi option as well, I guess, and then Loki is left to stop him. At least I would like to think that Harold would eventually come to his senses, however briefly, before he dies. Garling is the one who gives Harold a long distance Den Mushi so he can contact him immediately when necessary. So on we go with Harold sinking deeper and deeper into their influence. In a lighter but no less interesting scene, we get Harold drinking with Neptune. Definitely a cool friendship right there. Neptune tells Harold that his daughter is about to be born, and Neptune jokes that Loki and Neptune's daughter should get engaged. Harold even refers to Shirahoshi as Mosa Mosa. Mosa, by the way, is also what Loki calls his mysterious friend over the phone. That sounded like a woman to me. So could this be a ship down the line? I think many would say that is a step up for our boy compared to Charlotte Lola. They're both huge in size and are seemingly already good friends, if it is in fact Shirahoshi on the phone, so that's definitely one interesting aspect or thread presented in this chapter. It would also be cool from the perspective that their parents were friends and they somehow continued the tradition and became friends as well, despite how unlikely it would be based on circumstances and distance. We then get into the most interesting aspect of the chapter, which of course revolves around Shanks, since when Shanks does appear, especially in his adult form, that usually ends up being the most hype part of a chapter. So 15 years ago, during the Fisher Tiger escape from Arijoa, so awesome that Oda even tied that into this flashback, we can see Boa and her sisters. A mysterious figure helps Fisher Tiger while he frees slaves. It's clear that that mysterious figure is Shanks. Now, how's he able to do this in Arijoa, you may well be wondering. Well, we get that answer when Harold arrives to the Holy Land during the next few days and sees Shanks talking with Shamrock in the city. Shanks is living in Marijoa at this point with his father and twin brother, Garling and Shamrock. Shanks wears a God's Knight uniform like his brother and has a bandage over his left eye, although no explanation is given, but we know that's where Blackbeard gave him his scars. Although knowing what Garling and the world government did to Zebek, Blackbeard's father, and seeing Shanks dressed like a holy knight definitely makes you question what seemed obvious before, that Shanks is the good guy and Blackbeard is the bad guy. Not saying Shanks isn't the good guy, it just puts some things in perspective. Although it obviously seems clear enough that Shanks is undercover, even helping free the slaves and probably trying to learn as much as possible against his enemies by infiltrating them. You gotta admit though, if Shanks and Shamrock ever were on the same side in a fight, you would not want to face their combined might for sure. So Shanks talks about the Fisher Tiger incident, playing his role as a loyal celestial dragon very well. He says, let's go Shamrock, tell me more about the Holy Land. I want to capture the culprit so I can be useful. Do we have any clues so far? So it's funny, it's like him saying after committing the offense, so is there any proof that it was me, that I was the culprit that made it all possible? Shanks is introduced at this point as Saint Shanks of the Fingerland family, devoted Blade of God. Now we know what that is thanks to Harold. So we know he had that tattoo like Harold got on his body. The fact that he wasn't actually promoted to Holy Knight yet suggests he also had that surface sea level tie, and the way he got out of it, as we saw, was when he had it bitten off while he was saving Luffy. Still so glad that that scene that people argued about forever and people even called Oda a bad writer for was finally explained so nicely. Now it keeps getting focused on as if Oda is getting his revenge on the doubters. Shamrock tells his brother it's wiser to wait till you're all healed up, Shanks. It's interesting to see, despite Shamrock and Fingerland Garling being terrible people, Shamrock seems to be on nice and friendly terms with his long-lost brother, even showing some concern for him here. You can imagine they were very upset when Shanks goes back and turns against them again. But for now, Shanks is maintaining the act to his even then Holy Knight brother, saying in an angry voice, "You guys wouldn't get it. How it feels to have wasted 24 years of your life. No wonder I always felt like I don't belong. Everything was disgusting." Keep in mind, if my math is right, it is only 3 years after this that Shanks saves Luffy and loses his arm and the tattoo on it, which happened when he was 27 by my count. We then jump to Elbaf, where we get the full significance of that chapter title that really hits the heartstrings. So Ida falls ill, but she refuses to contact Harold since he is busy with his mission. Hiruden goes out to sea to find a doctor. Crazy that they don't have one in Elbaf that can help her. Loki, on the other hand, is also worried for her, but he tries not to show it. He is that tough exterior type. Both Loki and Hiruden are adults now, by the way. Ida says to her close friends that even if she is not connected by blood to Loki, he is also her precious son, just like Hiruden. Best mom Ida is in the house. Loki's own mom didn't want him, wanted him dead really, and yet Ida fully accepts Loki. The only question is, how does Loki feel about all this? Has her incessant niceness and love finally broken through his tough guy fences? Well, we won't have to wait long to find out. Loki discovers that the Brewers village poisoned Ida as revenge for his biological mother, Estrid. Loki says, "What? What did you say just now?" And they assume Loki will be on their side and approve of their actions. After all, his mom is considered the true queen, and this one that replaced her is looked down on as an outsider. Acknowledging her is also like acknowledging the legitimacy of her son Hiruden too. So Loki in theory should also dislike them, since they threatened his position. However, they judged wrong, very wrong when it comes to Loki. The Brewer Village Giant says, "I'm talking about the absurdity of letting an outsider woman like her become queen. Surely you agree, Loki. We are both of the same clan as the true queen Estrid. All treasures and power belong to us. That's why I poisoned her with this ergot. No one can stop it anymore. Her fate is sealed." In the epic double page then, Loki destroys Brewer's village. We see the village in flames as Loki grabs the giant by the neck, the one who poisoned Ida. This scene definitely has Akaza backstory vibes for the Demon Slayer fans out there. You'll know what I mean. And who can really blame Loki for this? I definitely can't. The giant says, "Ow, Loki, what the heck?" And Loki says, "Ida won't die from this, right? I remember well. My biological mother threw me into the underworld in distaste. Screw the treasures. What a trash clan. Ida better not die from this. She's the only one I'd call my mother." Wow. And there it is. The chapter title was talking about Loki the whole time. What a goosebump-inducing epic moment. The chapter title was talking about Loki the whole time, not Hiruden, as one might have guessed at first glance. And it reflects really well on Loki, who is capable of appreciating Ida as his mother, and also on Ida, who was such a good person that she was a better mom to her husband's son from another woman than even the biological mother was. Goes to show how important actually being a good person and a good parent in this case is, and how just being a biological parent doesn't mean you're worthy to be called mother. You have to earn that title, and Ida did. We also get a flashback in the past of Ida saying to Loki, "You look lonely, Loki. Why not come to my place?" And it goes to show how much such care, how much such moments can influence someone, even if it's not obvious at first glance. Man, if only I could respect Harold even half as much as I respect Ida. She was such an awesome person, so much so that she even earned Loki's love, and that's saying something. And again, drop a hashtag Loki for Straw Hat in the comments. My boy keeps looking better and more misjudged after every single chapter at this point. Let me know how you like this chapter and where do you think we're going from here. Like and subscribe for more One Piece reviews like this one, especially because we will be having a chapter next week. No break. If you enjoyed this one, YouTube says you'll also like this video on screen right now, and I'll see you in the next one.